Ozzy, what are you doing? Welcome back, Camille. I have been gone for quite a while. If you watched my last video, you know that everything that I've gone through over the last year has obviously taken a toll on my mental health. So I decided to take a break, not only from the internet, but from everything, from my whole life, basically. And it was way more than just a break. It was me going to get the help that I needed. And I didn't realize how so desperately I needed that help until I got it, because things were not going down a good path at all. I didn't really give too many details about where I was going when I left. I just wanted to go and do what I needed to do and come back and tell you guys about it. So here I am. I'm back. I was at rehab. The place I went to specifically was a trauma treatment center. So it was for anyone who has experienced any amount of trauma that has negatively affected their lives, whether that is causing them to go into addiction because of it, or causing them to have PTSD, or depression, or anxiety, or whatever. But the one thing we all had in common was that our root cause of our pain and suffering was trauma. A lot of the people who were there were addicts. Not everyone who was there was addicted to something, but a lot of people were, because a lot of addicts have trauma. That's why they fall into addiction. So it was really interesting for me to just be in an environment like that with people who suffer with addiction. I feel like it definitely gave me a perspective on what Landon was going through, and I was kind of able to see more of his side of things through someone else's eyes and their experiences and what it was like for them, and hearing that firsthand. But yeah, I went to a program for a month, 30 days. Obviously, I couldn't bring the girls with me, so they stayed with family. Saying goodbye to them was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done. It was so incredibly hard. It takes a lot to be able to say, I am so not okay that I need to go. I need to go somewhere to get professional help. And when you have kids in the mix of that, it makes it that much harder, because you want to be strong for them and fight through it and be like, no, I can do it, I'm fine. I was not fine, and I couldn't do it, and I'm glad that I got the help. To backtrack, leading up to March when I left, I guess from August to March, as you guys know, Landon passed away in August. Initially, I was really shocked. There's no other word to describe it. I was just so shocked that I didn't even really feel much of anything. I had short bursts of grief and really, really intense, crazy feelings that felt so unbearable, but it was pretty rare that I had those moments at first, because it was still just so like, this isn't even real. And in that state of shock, kind of in between those episodes, I was pretty good. I was like healthy and productive and did what I needed to for the girls and did what I needed to for work. And I was able to like hang out with my family and just do normal things. And I think everyone was a little shocked, and I think I was a little shocked. I mean, I was definitely really shocked, but I guess I was just kind of shocked at how okay I seemed that I was doing, how well I was able to hold it all together and still function. Like I said, a huge part of it was shock, but you also just have to do what you have to do. There's no way you can sit in that much sadness all the time. If all I ever felt during that time was that intense feeling, I don't think I would have made it out alive. And there's a reason that when our brain experiences things like that, it has that shock. It allows us time to process it, so we're just not feeling absolutely all those feelings at once all the time for months. So during that time that I was still really shocked, I did a lot of self-work, just kind of discovering myself again and figuring out what this new life would be like. because I really did just have a whole new life overnight. But after the initial shock wore off, after those first few months, I just really started to get depressed, like really depressed. Like, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't enjoy anything. I woke up and I immediately just felt like crap and I wanted to stay in bed all day. And it felt like bad things just kept happening to me. My grandpa passed away and a lot of other stuff happened. I'm not gonna get into details about everything that kind of led me down into such a dark place. But as if Landon passing away wasn't enough, just bad stuff happened. One thing after another. And I just felt like I couldn't get a break. Like, there's no way that things could get worse, and then they got worse every time. All the while, I was just trying so hard to keep it all together and to seem okay, which I think I have a really valid excuse to not be okay. So I don't know why I tried to act like I was so fine. I guess that's just my immediate coping mechanism, which makes sense thinking about it now and all the trauma that I went through before. A lot of what I did at the treatment center was really analyzing why you act the way you act. And as it turns out, a lot of the things that I do to cope, a lot of those come from trauma. It's a trauma response. There's been situations in the past when I was dealing with traumatic experiences where I felt like I wasn't allowed to not be okay. If I showed any sign of weakness, it would just get worse. So now, that's just kind of my automatic response is, oh, I need to seem that I'm okay. Even though now there's no real threat, there's nothing that logically makes me believe I need to act strong or it's gonna get worse. There's no threat anymore. There's nothing to be afraid of. But still, I have so many of these trauma responses that are kind of negative. They kind of turned into negative coping skills that were born directly out of the trauma I experienced. And the faking being okay is just one of the many trauma responses that I've come to realize are trauma responses. And along with that, I started to cope in a lot of unhealthy ways. Avoidance and taking on a ton of projects and stuff to distract myself with, like starting a podcast, be like, hey, this will distract me from all my pain. And really just stressed me out even more. Things were just not going good. And they just kept getting worse. And my mental health kept getting worse. And my coping skills kept getting worse. And it came to a point where I wasn't able to hide it anymore. At least not to my family. My mom actually was the one to sit down and be like, we really think you need help, like more help than you're getting now. Because I was going to therapy once a week, but I kind of bounced around between a few therapists trying to find one that I liked. And in that, I wasn't really getting a ton of help. I was just kind of explaining my story to people. So I really wasn't getting the help I needed at the time. And I just needed way more help than I even thought. And I had thought about it. I had thought about going somewhere, like the place I went to. One of my close friends had actually just gone. He was addicted to Xanax, and everyone in whose life was like, dude, you have a problem. And he went and got help. And so he was just getting back, and I was talking to him about it. And I was like, that sounds really nice. Like, I feel like I need something like that. Like, I need to go somewhere and focus on me and my mental health. But I didn't even think that was an option for me with the kids and everything and YouTube and all my responsibilities. It just didn't seem realistic that I could just walk away from everything. So I kind of had the idea in the back of my head, but I was like, no, I can't right now. People need me. And then my mom, like I said, she was just like, we're all worried about you and you need help. And I was like, I could get help? Like, we can figure something out. And I can go and actually get the help I need. And she was like, yeah, we can do that. Like, you need to take care of you. Because I really hadn't had any time between August and March to really take care of me. I took care of the kids, and I jumped back into YouTube really fast and distracted the hell out of myself and just did whatever I can to not deal. But after my mom said something, I realized, yeah, it's time to take care of me. She's right. I do really need help. Because I knew the way I was going, in the direction I was headed, it wouldn't have been good. Like, the more I pushed it down and pushed it down, the worse I felt mentally. And my depression just spiraled out of control to the point where I was at a similar place that Landon was at. And I know that's not what he would have wanted. So I said goodbye to the girls, kissing them goodbye, knowing that the next time I saw them, they would be substantially bigger and older and more grown. Kids grow so fast, especially Delilah at her age. I knew the baby that I was saying goodbye to would not be the same baby that I would see in a month. And I was really, really worried about Colette and the way she would take my absence. Obviously, she lost her dad, and one day he was there, and the next day he wasn't, and then he was never there again. And so the last thing I wanted was for Colette to think I'm not coming back. So I sat down and explained to her that I'm gonna be back. I'm not going to the stars with Daddy. I'm here on Earth. I'm just somewhere else, but I'm coming back. And then I said goodbye to them and drove by myself to the treatment center. It was quite the road trip. I was really nervous just because I didn't know what to expect. It's really scary going into an environment like that with a ton of people that you don't know at all, who are all pretty mentally unwell, just like me, with a ton of doctors and therapists and all kinds of people. When I first got there, I spent 3 days in the med building, as they called it, which was more of your typical psychiatric hospital. There was rooms and everything was like made to be really safe so no one could hurt themselves or others. And there was a TV room and some books and not much to do. During those days there, I just kind of sat there and waited until I was like medically approved to go out to the actual program. But I made some friends in there because we were all just kind of stuck in there with nothing to do. And so the relationships I made in there were some of the strongest I made the whole time. And I met some really cool people during my stay. Everyone, for the most part, was really friendly and really nice and just supportive of each other. And it was a really beautiful thing to be witness to. It kind of felt like its own little corner of the world, and like none of the outside stuff mattered. We were in this little camp together, and it was beautiful. We were on a river, this beautiful campground, a lot of outdoor activities and things to do. But yeah, once I got out of the medical building and into the real world, I made the decision to just be me. Like I said, I have social anxiety, and it's really hard for me to just be me a lot of the time. But I knew if I was going to get the help that I needed and really open up and do the work and do what I was there to do, I needed to be open and vulnerable, and I couldn't be some altered version of myself. I was there to find myself, to work on myself, and who cared if anyone accepted me or not. I wasn't going to see any of these people again anyways. So I just decided to be my most genuine self at all times. And I always thought if I were to do that in any sense on YouTube, around new people, anywhere, that people wouldn't like me. I mean, I didn't like me, so why would anyone else? Come to find that people did actually kind of like me, at least I think. I made a lot of friends there. A lot of genuine friends, some of which are probably watching this video right now. Hi guys, I miss you. And it felt so freeing to just be me. When you wear a mask for so long, you kind of forget what your face looks like underneath it. You kind of lose who you actually are when you're pretending to be someone you're not. I feel like the only version you guys have really seen of me is me trying to be this perfect mom and this perfect wife. And clearly I wasn't perfect and never have been and never will be, but I was striving for that, and I was beating myself up for not being that. And I was scared of disappointing people, and I was scared of opening up and showing more of what makes me me. So I put myself into a box and said, I'm going to be a mom, I'm going to be a wife, and that's all I am, and that's my whole identity. Here you go. And a lot of people loved the version of myself I was projecting. And not to say it was completely inauthentic, it wasn't. Parts of it were definitely very real and me, but other parts were just not. They just weren't me. And I was trying so hard to be someone I'm not. So hard. And I really just lost myself. Didn't know who I was, especially right after Landon died. I mean, even before that, but especially right after he passed away, I felt like no one and nothing. I felt like I had no identity. I can't even describe like how weird it felt. I felt like an empty shell. But in a way, I've come to learn that that's a beautiful thing to be, because now I could be whoever I actually really wanted to be and who I actually really am, like a blank canvas ready to be painted into a beautiful masterpiece of realness and rawness and vulnerability and just me, genuinely me. So out of everything I learned there, that was one of the biggest things, is learning to love who I really am, letting go of all the reasons that I used to hate who I really am, letting go of all of the guilt and shame and blame. I'm not that. And it felt so good to just be Cam and figure out who that was. In a way, going there kind of was like hitting the reset button and just being like, the way things are going are not good. And I almost want to just like erase the last 8 months from my memory, because I was just doing so bad. I was doing horribly and was refusing to even admit that to myself. So it really just felt like a fresh start. Like, who cares about the way I've been coping so far? I'm here, I'm alive, I've made it as far as I have. Was I doing it in the most healthy way? No. Was I dealing with it how I should have? No. But that is all the past, and this is now, and this is a fresh start, and it's time to really dig into this and figure some things out. And it was really the perfect environment to do all those things, to work on things like that. There's just so many new habits that I formed that are so much better for me. Just like going to bed early, waking up early, having like 3 meals a day of like good whole food, and journaling and not being on my phone all the time, being social and talking to people every day and making friends. I just feel like I got a lot of practice with things that made it so much easier when I came back. And now I look back and I'm like, how did I like never sleep and eat chips and salsa as a meal? Just those simple things helped my mental health so much. On top of that, I had hours and hours and hours of therapy every day, mostly group therapy, which I really liked. But yeah, we'd all wake up early, the whole community, eat breakfast, go to the first group and talk and share our feelings. And then we had lunch, and then we went to the next group. And then after that, we had some time to just do whatever, hang out with your friends, go swimming, color, read a book, and then dinner. And then in the evenings, they had different meetings for different kinds of people. And instead of a therapist-led group, it was a client-led group. So there was no therapist there leading it. We were all just kind of talking amongst ourselves. And that was like the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, Narcotics Anonymous, Sex and Love Addiction Anonymous, Codependence Anonymous, Adult Children of Alcoholic Parents Anonymous. And then they had a meditation class also during that time. So you had an option of where you wanted to go spend your evening every evening. And then we went to bed and did it all again the next day. And in between that, we'd, have one-on-one meetings with our therapists. But the main thing we were doing in these groups were reading letters out loud to everyone. When I first got in, I got a ton of assignments of letters they wanted me to write. Like I wrote a letter to my depression, and I kind of spoke openly about how I felt about depression in general and what I'd like to say to my depression and my anxiety. I wrote a letter from my inner child to me, and then back from my current self to my younger self. So that was a really interesting way to kind of process my childhood and everything that happened during that time. And then writing letters to people in our actual lives, obviously not to send to them, but to just get those feelings out. So I wrote a letter to my mom and my dad my siblings and Landon's parents. And on my assignment list was a letter to Landon. And I was really nervous to write that one. And I waited until like my last day. Because obviously that was the main thing that I was there to work on. And I felt like I had to like do the work before I could say what I wanted to say to him. And in a way that's kind of true. But I also think I was just really scared to write that. But I did. I wrote a letter to Landon and I read it in front of people. In regards to my grieving process, I feel like I got to move through a lot of the anger I was feeling. Like I said, for the past like 8 months, I just wasn't really dealing with it. But I'm not gonna lie, I was really angry for a really long time. I feel like more than anything, over the last 8 months, I've just felt anger. I've just been really angry with him. And I almost use that as an excuse to not deal with it. Like it was almost easier to feel the anger than it was to feel the sadness and to miss him and to sit there and really feel it. It's way easier to just be mad and to say, how could he do this to me? Because to actually look at the situation and feel sympathy for him, it hurt. It just hurt too bad. Sympathy for him was there, but I didn't want to feel it. I just wanted to feel the anger. That's all that I felt like I was capable of feeling at the time. But during my time at treatment, I got to move through a lot of that. I think I finally broke down that wall of, oh, I'm just angry with him. And I'm able to access all those other feelings now on a more regular basis. But boy, was that letter hard to write. I mean, another reason I procrastinated it for so long is I just didn't even know where to start and what to say. I had so much I want to say to him. I still have so much I want to say to him. And I kind of want to cuss him out. And I kind of want to be angry. And I kind of want to hug him. And I kind of want to tell him that it's okay. And I can't do any of those things. And I miss him. And it's just so hard and so much more complex than anyone even knows. With that being said, I feel like the way I've been handling this in regards to social media and how much I've shared about his death and my grief, it's really starting to negatively affect me. It's a very private thing to grieve someone you loved. And it's complicated. Absolutely no one is gonna fully understand the way I feel and why I feel that way and everything I went through with Landon. And so to just share it all with the world and have pieces of it missing, have pieces of the puzzle that you guys don't really see, that leaves room for confusion and people to fill in the holes by themselves and put their own story there, or think that they know how I feel based on a few Instagram posts and videos. The way I reacted to Landon's death has been under scrutiny since the second I told you guys what happened. It's gotten so bad to the point where there's actually conspiracy theories that I murdered him and then framed it as a suicide and called the cops. It's just so messed up. It's so messed up. And it really makes me want to not open up like this to you guys. And I feel like I need to explain myself for why I feel the way I feel and try and justify it to you guys that like, oh, I'm in shock. That's why I seem this way. And when at the end of the day, I shouldn't have to justify anything to anyone after what I've gone through. And you guys don't even know all of it. You don't even know everything I've gone through. Not even the half of it. So yeah, I've come to regret sharing parts of my story. I knew that there was people out there in similar situations, people who have lost loved ones. And that's always what I've been about, is helping other people with my videos as much as I can. And just being a voice and being someone to relate to, especially on such hard things like that. And so that's what I was trying to do. And I know you guys cared about Landon as well, and I felt like you guys deserved that clarity on the situation. If I was super vague about it, I feel like people wouldn't be able to really wrap their heads around it and mourn him. Because it's not just me mourning him, it's everyone. And I care about you guys, and I want you to have the tools to be able to do that and to understand. But like I said, putting that all out there just got so toxic and so bad for me. And the girls too. There's people saying that it's Delilah's fault that he did it. because it was right around the time that she was born, and that, oh, he didn't want her. In no way, shape, or form is it her fault at all. She's a baby, and he loved her. That's his daughter. He didn't end his life because he didn't want another kid. So not only is it affecting me, it's affecting them. So from here on out, I'm just kind of done talking about it for now. And I hope you guys can understand that. And I want to come on here and say this because I feel like if I just stop talking about it, people are going to assume that I just don't care and that I've moved on, and that's not the case at all. I'm going to therapy 2 times a week. I just spent a month at therapy dealing with this. I journal about him. I watch old videos with the girls. I talk to the girls about him. His memory is very much still alive, and I don't want anyone to interpret this as me disrespecting his legacy and trying to act like he never even existed. I am grieving him privately. Just because you don't see it happening on the internet, just because I'm not talking about it all the time, doesn't mean it's not there and not something that I think about every single day. So that's where I'm at with that. Maybe that will change in the future after I've dealt with things a bit more. And that's not to say that I'm never going to talk about him again. If I do, then I do. And I'm going to share whatever I decide to share. But don't expect that from me and then make your own opinions about things when I don't. Along with that, I've always been a very open person on the internet. I've shared a lot. You guys have seen it all from the very beginning when I was 16 till now. You've really been there for a lot. And like I said, some of that I regretted sharing. It was too much to put on the internet. So moving forward, not only do I want to be private in my grief, I also think there's just certain things that I'm going to be more private about in my private life. My friends and who I decide to bring on this channel. You know, you guys don't see everything. There's things that go on that you guys don't see. Not everything I do is recorded and posted to the internet. You know, I have a life outside of that, and I'm just asking that you guys do your best to respect that, because I'm starting to realize how much I value my privacy and how little privacy I feel like I have. And I do it to myself. You know, I've made the decision in the past to share certain things, and now I'm deciding to kind of hold back a little bit. But at the same time, I just want to be real with you guys. Like, yes, there's certain things that need to be private, but I also just want to be me. And I have been slowly working towards that over the last 9 months. But from now on, this is Cameron. This is genuine, authentic Cameron. I'm not just a mom. That's not all there is to me. I'm a 20-year-old girl with 2 kids, and I'm just living my life and trying my best. So take it or leave it. This channel used to be one of those happy family channels where everything's sunshine and rainbows all the time, where the kids never scream and we're all in matching outfits and everything's great. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of it. I don't want to be perfect. I want to be real. This is honestly all I've ever wanted. I guess I just didn't know how to be me on here. But now that I've started to really figure out who I am, I'm just so ready, and it's so time. I know you guys care about the girls a lot, and it's not like I'm never going to show them on my channel again. It's just not going to be based around them. I'm here to show my life, and they're obviously a huge part of my life, but they're not all there is to me. With that being said, they've grown so much. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for you guys to see them. Delilah has started walking. I missed her first steps because I was gone. I think it was about a week into my treatment, and I got the phone call that she was walking, and I cried. And I talked to my therapist about it, and I told them I felt like a horrible mom for missing it. But really, me going there and doing the work I needed to do was for them, for their benefit, because I can't be the mom they need me to be if I'm not in a good place mentally. And oh my god, I can't even explain how crazy it felt to see them again after not seeing them for a month. Obviously, it's the longest I've ever been away from them, and I'm so excited for you guys to see them. I have a lot of things in store, and I'm just so excited for the future. A few months ago, I don't think I could say that. I don't think I could say I was excited for the future at all. I was miserable, and I didn't even really want to have a future, and now I can't wait. If you guys are at the place that I was before going, where you know you're not okay and you know you probably need help, but it just seems like too much to leave your life behind like that, I promise you it's worth it. And if that's not an option for you whatsoever, there's other options and other ways to get help. But please, 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 if you feel that you need it, or if there's people around you that love you that are telling you that you need it, it's worth it. And it works. And you owe it to yourself. I love you guys so much. And I want to thank you for being so patient and just allowing me to be here with you and be me and be okay with being me. I really have missed you guys a lot, and it feels so good to finally be catching up and letting you guys know what's been going on. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next video, Cam&Fam. That was cheesy.